So this is really important. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans in the House and Senate, their bluff is being called by Special Counsel Jack Smith. So as Donald Trump and these MAGA Republicans in the Senate and MAGA Republicans in the House like Jim Jordan are saying the Justice Department needs to prosecute Jack Smith, criminally investigate him right now. Let's get him to testify in public right here, right now, before the House, before the Senate. Let's bring him in. Let's take his deposition. Jack Smith calls his bluff. Jack Smith calls all of their bluff. And Smith says, I do want to testify. I would be happy to testify in public, on live TV, in front of the world. I don't want to do some private deposition, though, where you're going to lie about what I say and not be transparent. If you want transparency, Jack Smith says, let me testify. I'll do it in front of Congress. I'll do it in front of the House and the Senate at the exact same time. I'll make 2 trips. First, I could do the House, then I could do the Senate, or let's do it all together. And Jack Smith says, I also want to make sure we talk about the Mar-a-Lago case, which still has not been made public because the Justice Department under Pam Bondi is not allowing the report by Jack Smith to be released. And he said, and I'll talk about the January 6th case as well, which has been made public. And Jack Smith says there's been a lot of misrepresentations, outright lies that have been made by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans in the House and Senate about these investigations. And Jack Smith says, I'm happy to discuss it all. I'll even discuss what went down in the grand jury room, if you'll allow me to. I'll discuss all of the evidence that we gathered, if you allow me to. So you want to make this public? Let's go. Let's go. And then Democratic Congressmember Jamie Raskin responded after Jack Smith wrote this letter saying that he wants to do it in public. And Jamie Raskin says, that's great. That's great. Unless you're scared, Jim Jordan, unless you're scared, Grassley in the Senate, are you scared? Let's do this in public. And I don't care what political party you're from. Shouldn't you want this to take place in public? Don't you want to see this? Or are you scared? See, I think what's going to happen, and you tell me what you think is going to happen, is that the MAGA Republicans in the House and Senate, they're scared. They're scared people. They're going to say, oh, no. That's just going to be theater and theatrics. We don't want to do it in public. The same way MAGA Mike Johnson, right? He holds those press conferences and acts like a tough guy. But then when push comes to shove and the Democratic leaders say, let's go in public and have a debate about this government shutdown and the fact that you're taking away health care from 20 million Americans, Donald Trump and MAGA Mike, they all go, oh, that's theater. We don't want the theatrics. You don't want the theatrics? All you're doing is your propaganda theatrics. It's not theatrics that the political parties go in public and debate. That's what exists in most democracies across the country, in parliamentary systems. That takes place on a very frequent basis. I digress. Let me show you those Special Counsel Jack Smith's letter that he sent through his incredible lawyers at the Covington law firm. Covington, one of the top law firms in the country. I had the opportunity to be against Covington in a case. We're very well respected, very good lawyers. They're representing Jack Smith here. And here's the letter that they write to Jim Jordan and Chuck Grassley. Jim Jordan leads the House Judiciary Committee. Chuck Grassley leads the Senate Judiciary Committee. Dear Chairman Jordan and Grassley, we have received Chairman Jordan's October 14, 2025 letter and are aware of Chairman Grassley's interest in testimony from our client Jack Smith. Given the many mischaracterizations of Mr. Smith's investigation into Trump's alleged mishandling of classified documents and role in attempting to overturn the results of the 2020 election, Mr. Smith respectfully requests the opportunity to testify in open hearings before the House and Senate Judiciary Committees. During the investigation of President Trump, Mr. Smith steadfastly adhered to established and legal standards and Department of Justice guidelines consistent with his approach throughout his career as a dedicated public servant. He is prepared to answer questions about the special counsel's investigation and prosecution, but requires assurances from the Department of Justice that he will not be punished for doing so. To that end, Mr. Smith needs guidance from the Department of Justice regarding federal grand jury secrecy requirements and authorization on matters he may speak to regarding, among other things, Volume 2 of the final report of the special counsel, which is not publicly available. In addition, to provide full and accurate answers to your questions, Mr. Smith requires access to the special counsel files, which he no longer has the ability to access. With the guidance and access described above, Mr. Smith is available to testify in an open hearing at your earliest convenience. Signed, Jack Smith's attorneys, Lanny Brewer and Peter Koski. It's a great letter. And just so you remember, Volume 2 is the Mar-a-Lago case. Volume 1 was the January 6th related case. And you'll also recall that it's Trump's DOJ that is currently deep-sixing, refusing to release the report on the Mar-a-Lago case, where Donald Trump took nuclear secrets and stole classified information, were the allegations against Donald Trump. Instead of making that available to the public, Trump and his son Eric and all the MAGA Republican senators and Congress members, they want to go out there and say that they raided Donald Trump's place illegally. They seized everything, and this was a vindictive political persecution. And Jack Smith says, I want to talk about it publicly. So give me permission, and I'm happy to speak publicly about it. And let's make these files available to the world. Now, Democratic Congress member Jamie Raskin, ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, meaning the top Democrat in this committee, he then writes to Jim Jordan after Jack Smith's letter. And Jamie Raskin writes, Dear Chairman Jordan, last week I applauded your call for transparency about Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation into how President Trump knowingly retained hundreds of highly classified records at his Mar-a-Lago club and then defied subpoenas, obstructed law enforcement, actively hid evidence, and lied about his continuing retention of those records. I commend you for apparently joining us in demanding the full release of Mr. Smith's report, paid for by American taxpayers, as well as all accompanying records which the Department of Justice has been desperately concealing. I am now calling on you to accept Mr. Smith's offer to testify at a public hearing so the American people can all hear directly from him. Until now, special counsel's leading investigations into a sitting former president have always appeared before Congress to publicly answer questions about their investigation's findings. That is not because both parties necessarily agreed with the special counsel's conclusions, but because of the overwhelming public interest in understanding the substance, scope, and conclusions of their investigations. Special counsel John Durham testified publicly before the House Judiciary in June 2023. Special counsel Robert Mueller testified publicly before the House Judiciary and Intelligence Committee in July 2019. Independent counsel Kenneth Starr testified publicly before the House Judiciary Committee in November 1998. And just last year, in March 2024, special counsel Robert Hur testified publicly before the House Judiciary Committee. Mr. Smith has led not one but two significant investigations into criminal wrongdoing by President Trump. The first involved President Trump's role leading a conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election by promoting, quote, bullshit claims of election fraud, attempting to submit false slates of electors, and to coerce Vice President Pence into accepting them, and when all else failed, directing a violent mob to attack the U.S. Capitol. The second involved President Trump's deliberate hoarding of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago and his subsequent obstruction of justice to cover up his offense. To this day, the DOJ is fighting to prevent the release of the special counsel's full report regarding this criminal activity. I know you agree that the American people whose tax dollars funded these investigations have a compelling interest, indeed a right, in hearing directly from Mr. Smith about both investigations into the sitting president of the United States. Your letter to Mr. Smith and your statements over the past few years have leveled serious accusations against him and his team, claiming they engaged in, quote, partisan and politically motivated prosecutions and employed, quote, disturbing tactics that undermine the integrity of the criminal justice system. You have invited Mr. Smith to appear for a secret closed-door, transcribed interview to answer the committee's questions. But Mr. Smith has made clear that he is prepared to address those allegations publicly, and I can think of no reason to deny the American people the opportunity to hear his testimony under oath and with questions from members of both parties, and to let all Americans judge for themselves the integrity of Mr. Smith's investigations. There is no reason his appearance should be in the shadows of a back room and subject to the usual tiresome partisan tactics of leak and distort. I therefore call upon you to accept Mr. Smith's offer and schedule a public hearing of the full committee at the earliest opportunity. Signed, Jamie Raskin. That seems infinitely reasonable, right? I mean, again, if you're a MAGA watching this, if you're a Republican who hates Jack Smith watching this for whatever reason, Jack Smith's offering to do this in public so you can see it for yourself. And the MAGA Republicans in the House and Senate want it closed door and secret so they can misinterpret or they can provide false transcriptions to the public of what Jack Smith actually said and tried to spin it. So look, Jim Jordan, you're a tough guy. Just this past week or last week, you went on Newsmax and you said, oh, Jack Smith's surveillance, he's been tapping our phones and he's been engaging in all this behavior. Okay, tough guy. Okay, do it in public. Question him in public. I know you don't have a bar license, Jim Jordan. I know you never passed the bar exam, yet you somehow lead the Judiciary Committee because Republicans think a non-licensed lawyer should have that top position, which is odd to me as a lawyer who graduated from Georgetown in 2010. But go ahead. This is what Jim Jordan said. So tough guy, let's hear it. Here, play this clip.
Well, this is all part of this Jack Smith investigation, but I think it's important to remember sort of the big picture. If they can do this to, 9 United States senators and members of Congress, imagine what they can do to regular citizens. I always think that's an important thing. The second takeaway I always have is the only thing we get wrong when we start looking into these things is it's always worse than we thought. So here they are looking at the phone calls, who senators are calling. And I think Mark, we were talking backstage, I think Mark made a good point. They're going after these guys because they're calling the president. I mean, all of us were talking to the president back when all this stuff was going on. And then when you couple all this with what we uncovered a week and a half ago, where they were also spying on Scott Perry when they went and took his phone, imaged his phone, all because this was Jack Smith looking for any way to get President Trump. To me, that's the big, this is how committed they were to this lawfare and to undermining the guy that we, made president of the United States.
Well, or how about Lindsey Graham lying that his phone was tapped and people were eavesdropping on him? No one was eavesdropping on Lindsey Graham. There were subpoenas sent out to get the metadata on phone records of calls that were made during the January 6th insurrection, because an insurrection was taking place to overthrow a free and fair election. But your phones weren't being tapped. But watch Lindsey Graham go, I demand to know, Pam Bondi, what's going on? Okay, Lindsey. Okay, Lindsey, tough guy, Lindsey. Have Jack Smith go before you in public, like Jack Smith says he wants to do. Here, play this clip.
You can't, can you?
I can't, Senator, and I can't.
Can you tell me why my phone records, when I'm the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, were sought by the Jack Smith agents? Why did they ask to know who I called and what I was doing from January 4th to the 7th? Can you tell me that?
No, Senator, and there were 8 senators in total.
Or how about Josh Hawley saying that the FBI tapped my phones and other senators' phones? As Kyle Cheney points out, it's not tapping if it involves metadata, is not tapping your phone. Tapping your phones means eavesdropping on you, Josh Hawley. But okay, tough guy, let him testify in public. Or what about Eric Trump, who claimed that Jack Smith was planting folders in the office of my father in Mar-a-Lago when the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago, even though Jack Smith was not appointed until after the FBI search. So Jack Smith had nothing to do with the search. He wasn't there, and there was nothing planted. That was never an argument that was advanced before the court of law that these were tampered with or planted documents. Trump said himself, his argument was he gets to keep anything. The nuclear secrets, all of it was his, and he gets to steal it when he leaves the White House. That's what Trump made, but this is what Eric Trump said. Here, play this clip.
When they raided Mar-a-Lago, I talk a lot about that in the book because I was the guy that got the call from our teams. Obviously, I run the Trump organization. I got a call. The FBI is at the front gates of Mar-a-Lago. They have a search warrant, sir. And I go, why would they have a search warrant? What are they trying to search at Mar-a-Lago? I don't know, but they're demanding that you instantly turn off every security camera. Obviously, Mar-a-Lago is a commercial property, right? They're demanding you turn off your security cameras right now. And then, sure enough, we find out that Jack Smith is planting manila folders on the office of my father, taking these, glamorous photo shoots where he has them all fanned out like a turkey. This was the lawfare.
And then finally, here's what Donald Trump said when he was with the president of South Korea. In the Oval Office. He goes, deranged Jack Smith, he's a criminal. Here, play this clip.
Currently, there is a fact-finding investigation by a special prosecutor that was appointed by the National Assembly. And this special prosecutor...
Is his name deranged Jack Smith, by any chance? they took him from our country. They put deranged Jack. He's a deranged, sick individual. But go ahead. Go ahead. I'm only kidding. Maybe I'm not.
Okay, tough guys. I get it. You want to criminally prosecute Jack Smith. You want to go after him. You want to go on Fox. Who's this guy? MAGA Republican Congress member Josh Breacham. Yesterday, our office sent a letter to Pam Bondi requesting that the administration open up a criminal investigation into Jack Smith and his grave violation of the Fourth Amendment during Operation Arctic Frost. Our letter has 26 signatures. We must take all steps available. Again. Breachin, Josh Breachin, whatever your name is. Have Jack Smith testify publicly, allow him to release Volume 2, put out all the records, and then question him, cross-examine him. If he lies, go after him for perjury. Jack Smith wants to do this in public. Now, for everybody watching, what do I think's going to happen? They're scared. They don't want transparency. They don't want it in public. They're going to say, no, keep it secret. They're going to want to do a private deposition of Jack Smith that nobody gets to see. And then while they're taking the testimony, Jim Jordan, like a little weasel, he's a little weasel boy. Hi, Benny. Jack Smith just admitted to Operation Arctic Frost going after me. I'm Jim Jordan. I'm a little weasel boy. That's what's going to happen. And then James Comer's going to go, oh boy, I'm James Comer. Here's what happened. Oh, could you believe it? I want to watch it, you idiots. I want to see it happen in public. And I know that all of you are too scared to allow it to happen in public. So do it. Tough guys, MAGA tough guys, huh? I know you like to show your masculinity by building ballrooms with beautiful gowns, right? The ballrooms, tea parties. Okay. Do it in public. I'm Ben Meiselas. This is the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.